one of the things that he does so well, and we talked about this, I think in Paris, right? The amount of like when I watch him get low and create ground force off of ground strokes,
Right.
it is something to
Poetry.
watch, and it's
Yeah.
as specific as like internal rotation of the opposite knee, like on that forehand side, that left knee just torques in, and he just
Yep.
unloads in that ball.
Yep.
It's a beautiful thing to see.
At the end of the day, Alvin, yeah, Carlos Alcaraz is still the number one player in the world.
Still number one player in the world. Yeah.
And I wish that the announcement that he was going to be number one in the world came at the end of this tournament, not before the finals of the ATP finals. Because
Yeah.
you can't tell me that that didn't have some level of taking the edge off or taking the importance off of the outcome of this match. And that's all I have to say about that.
And we'll actually officially announce ourselves. Welcome to another episode of the Best Three podcast. I'm Alvin, that's Torrey, and we are we're basking in the post ATP Tour Finals. Sinner versus Alcaraz. Yannick Sinner defeats Carlos Alcaraz 7-6, 7-5. Entertaining match. I mean, we'll get into it and talk about the tournament a little bit more. I think, I'll speak for myself. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that we get another one of these in a slightly different venue. Like, we missed out on one in Cincinnati, but here we got 2 out of 3 indoor tennis. Conditions are perfect.
Yep. Not so perfect. It wasn't Turin. Let's just.
It's a home match.
It's basically a home match.
It probably felt a little bit like Davis Cup.
That out there.
Yeah. That is what it is. But so like it's interesting when we have these guys play each other so much, right? That I've started to feel like I'm so comfortable with this matchup that it allows you to get into like the nitty gritty of the nuances of like seeing how each player's adjusting. What are they doing differently? What have they added to their games? What is uniquely different about this matchup than the last one? And like to your point, it's in Sinner's backyard, right? The crowd is very respectful to Carlos, but very pro Sinner.
Yeah, as they should be.
As they should be. This is this is one of the things that makes our sport, I think, great. Is that sometimes we change surfaces, sometimes we change conditions, and sometimes it can feel like a home match, or a non-neutral site match. So I feel like we'll get into the match and kind of the circumstances around it, right?
Yep.
Number one in the world locked up before that match. Carlos secured world number 1 by going undefeated in the group stage. Okay,
right. And that Musetti match, I think, is what put him over the top.
And then does his job, gets through that semifinal match, and then gets to the final. And we've got this dream matchup that everyone expected and everyone wants. And I went into this match excited that we got to have it.
Right. Again.
We just get to have it again. And it's not like maybe they'll play 20 times over the course of their career, but when you that's a lot, when
I
you
hope
zoom
more, but yeah.
Sure. It's maybe more, but it's a lot when you zoom out. But when you zoom in, it's not every week. It's not every tournament. Things happen. It's been 5 times this year. So maybe 6 times. Yep. Rome, the 3 Grand Slams, and then Cincinnati kind of. So this was the 6th one. But yeah, it was fun that it happened, and there was like kind of nothing on the line except for let's just who's got the advantage going into Australia. Yeah,
sure.
So what were your thoughts going into the match, and then we can kind of dig into the match a little bit, and then the rest of the tournament. What were you looking for? What were you looking for going into this match?
I was looking for a tactical matchup difference from Sinner to Carlos. I feel like in every one of the matches, it's always been Carlos's offense and how long could Sinner counter, or could Yannick's counter punishing finally turn the tide?
Sure.
I think Yannick's consistency, his whole approach to the game is so surgical, dare I say, that you know what you're going to get with him. Few errors, solid shot making, great percentage tennis, everything that you should play, right? If I were to take the 80s Lendl and his approach to the game and high percentage, if I were to mix him with a big dash of Mats Wilander from back in the day, just great returns, great depth, I'm going to counter everything you do big. I'm going to do, especially off the return side.
Mm-hmm.
And then you throw in just a little bit of Leighton Hewitt hustle, and you put in a 2.0 version of Novak. That is Yannick Sinner,
Sure.
right? On the flip side of that, you have, in my opinion, probably the best shot maker, the best. I don't want to put it I don't want to put so many superlatives that I put this description out of proportion, but perhaps one of the best athletes to ever pick up a tennis racket. I certainly think it's fair. And certainly, and number 2 is Yannick Sinner, by the way. So let's make sure I put that in there in the same context. You've got one of the most exciting players whose probably biggest weakness is his biggest strength, in that he is a shot maker, and his own discipline or his own sometimes inability to do the routine or to do it over and over again might be his undoing. And so you love to see these matchups where Alcaraz's imagination, playing in a sense video game tennis, and Yannick's ability to counter and play percentages is really what you're looking at. You're looking at, uh, you're looking at who was the great chess champion, and I think he played Watson after a while. Yeah, in the big, to see how fast, how good Watson was. I know it's a bad analogy, but that's what I'm coming up with. You've got this ability of this great tennis brain that just sees the whole game in a magical, ethereal sense, and then you've got one of the best high percentage counterers of all time. So I was honestly disappointed with that it didn't go 3. I was really hoping that we'd see a little more of it. I felt like Carlos, as he's apt to do, got a little sloppy in the first. I thought he had him in the match, and quite frankly, I think he had that medical situation in the first, right? And then he actually came out, played a little better, right? He was a return away from winning the first set.
Yep.
And he was a oddly weird shank, return
shank forehand
from center, and that kind of threw him off and kind of gave center a little bit of an advantage to break back. And otherwise, that 3-1 could have easily been 6-3, and we'd had ourselves a third set. So
right, yeah.
I don't want to sound disappointed in Yannick winning. I want to sound disappointed in that didn't go 3 sets. I felt like the longer these two play, you start to see different nuances. You start seeing a few more things. He never really did, Alvin. He never really did break Carlos. Carlos lost serve. And the same in the first. And I have to make that distinction because throughout the match, Carlos's out wide serve and his down the tee on the deuce are so lethal that anytime he dialed it up, which was often, Yannick has no answer. But your boy kept making a couple comments about it. My main man, I love Jim Curry, kept making comments. Let's see if Yannick can get the ball to Carlos's backhand.
He got
it to his backhand a few times, and he got stung off the darn backhand. And still, I think he got it to his backhand maybe 4, maybe 5 times in the entire match off the deuce side. So I say that to say the ball and the options are still on Carlos's side. Did Carlos convert? No, it got a little sloppy. Got a little errant, got a little extra. He had a volley on the high backhand volley, as you both saw, that would have converted that whole thing. I think that was to go up below 40. You know what I mean? And had that whole thing gone down, that would have been a 6-3 second set, and who knows what would have happened. I'm not here to talk woulda, coulda, shoulda. As a fan, I was looking forward to another edition of the French that may have gone a little longer.
Yeah.
And that's my quote unquote disappointment as a fan. Hats off to Yannick, but I really feel like Carlos lost this match. Yannick didn't beat him.
So I think we look at this through, and I've done this before, and I try to be very judicious not to do it when it's not warranted. But I feel like we look at this matchup a lot of the times through the lens of it's always on Carlos's racket. It's not really about Yannick, it's about Carlos. And so when I was watching this match today, I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing really on the line here. Like, this is effectively a trumped up, not necessarily exhibition match, but they can just let it all hang out. Like, maybe it's a little bit of bragging rights, whatever. These guys play out each other all the time. But then as I'm watching the match and I'm watching the first set unfold, I never felt like Carlos was losing. I never felt like he was losing or threatened. And even the look on his face, he never seemed stressed. He never seemed worried. Again, maybe that had to do with the circumstances, but also I wrote down, it's like he seems like he understands exactly what he needs to do.
Yep.
And this is gonna teeter on whether or not he executes to like at the points that he needs to. And that's kind of what it came down to in the first set. Now, he did get a little, he pulled the hamstring a little bit, whatever. And I think that's almost a microcosm of like what it takes to beat either one of these guys. Like you can't, you need everything. You need, the other one needs help, but if you're going to do it, you need everything because you can't slip up. You can't slip up. And I think like Sinner, it did not serve well today. And I wanted to talk a little bit about serves and returns with you when we get there, but Yannick didn't serve well.
Right.
Backhand was out in somewhere in the plaza most of the first set, and Carlos seemed like he had that match like where he wanted that match. As we got further and further into that set, it's like, okay, well, in a tiebreaker, I actually trust Yannick more. I
100%.
trust Yannick when it comes down to we need to not miss.
Right.
I trust him in general.
And not make bad decisions.
Right. When you don't have time to make it up. Like in a tiebreaker, there's very little time to make up for your bad decisions or your dump points here and there. That's exactly what we saw in that tiebreaker, right? Like Carlos missed one here and he missed one there. Next thing you know, okay, this thing is done. But yeah, I want to make sure that I give credit where credit's due with Yannick. Like he didn't. One of the things that he does so well, and we talked about this, I think in Paris, right? The amount of like when I watch him get low and create ground force off of ground strokes, it is something to watch, and it's as specific as like internal rotation of the opposite knee, like on that forehand side, that left knee just torques in, and he just unloads in that ball. It's a beautiful thing to see, but like
he does it on the forehand side too. I mean,
on the forehand side, like it's
his inside out might be as textbook as I've ever seen, and he gets so and his ability to get around it and nail it.
Yeah.
He has the ability, Alvin, to go inside out with the step in. You know how hard that is? I mean, and still get rotational power. I mean, the speed and the ability of which to get the hip around on a ball like that. I mean, a lot of guys have to wait, let it slot, and then create torque. Nah. He can get around it and step in, and he can get around and go open stance. Doesn't matter. And that's very, very hard to do. And he does it and makes it look relatively simple.
Yeah. And like I'll even add to that, like if I felt like any time Yannick has the ability to step forward and hit a ball, toast. And Carlos does a really good job of making Yannick move side to side, making him pick balls up, especially on the backhand side. Like when Carlos, and you saw it in the U.S. Open and you saw it again today, slice to the backhand cross court, make Yannick pick it up, roll backhand, make Yannick either hitch kick it or back up just a little bit, and then start
punished.
Exactly. Right. So, just making Yannick do it from a lot of different positions. But in the event that Yannick can step forward, especially with that left foot, it's game over. You're on your ass, and it's like that little, that battle is really interesting to watch. And I was impressed that Yannick was able to not play his best tennis, and yet be solid enough to capitalize on the little slip ups that Carlos had in the big moments and ultimately just win the match. Just win the match. He got
through it. He did amazing. I thought he played great. A little bit of help from Carlos, I have to say it. Clearly, Carlos perhaps pressed a little bit, right? Especially toward the end. Who knows how much the injury was bothering him? He's never going to make an excuse. I'm not here to make one for him. I'm just saying, even all that withstanding, it still seemed like he was in control of the match. But hats off to Yannick. It was another good match. The only reason it's not a great match, Alvin, is that they have given us great before. And so this got relegated to just good, in the all-time instant classic list from these two. And I feel we'll see a lot of these two going forward. Alvin, I have to say there was 2 or 3 things I didn't like about this whole thing. And I've already mentioned the first. I hated that they announced the year-end information ahead of the finals.
That's just math, though. Like, but it's unfortunate. But like,
this is your point earlier about this whole tournament. And to me, it's one of the whole reasons why this tournament, to me, it needs to be done a little bit differently. You need to play for something for this tournament to really matter. The reasons the slams matter is they're slams. They have history on their side. There's points, there's rankings and such. The winner of this tournament, I think, and however they want to do it next year, it's up to them. It needs to have year-end consequences. Okay. Now, is that to say a guy can win 3 slams and not win the end of year tournament and not be number one? Well, that would be unfortunate. But I feel like given this past year, the guys were in a sense teed up on and tied up on a lot of stats going in, even with Center's, we're going to call it his sabbatical for lack of a better word. I feel like this tournament should have been the tiebreaker a little more than it should have been. That's my first one. What say you?
I'll say, what if we take because really we're just talking about points and math, right? What if we take that out of it? Let's take it out of it. Okay. Whatever the points are, whatever the actual rankings are, let's look at it from a tennis fan standpoint, right? We've got 2 guys who have split the 4 Grand Slams over the last 2 years, but specifically this year, right? You've got these guys who are head and shoulders above the rest of the field. I think I heard this stat, repeated a few different times over the last week, that Alexander Zverev, who is ranked 3 in the world in points, is closer to the 1,000 person in the world than he is to number 2. Like, that's how big the gap is, right? It's a joke. So take the points out of it. These guys are. I effectively saw this as maybe a tiebreaker. Like maybe the bragging rights between the 2 of them is all that really matters. Maybe what we feel at the end of the year going into Australia in a couple weeks is all that really matters. Like they know what's up. And Yannick played 75% of the year and he was still right there. Like,
right.
So, I mean, who had a better season? I mean,
I think I saw the match. It was something to your exact point. I want to say it was like Carlos was like, I don't know, and I'm going to spitball this about, I wrote it down, 72 and like 6. I think Yannick was 63 and like 5. It was something you looked at, where was those extra 9 to 10 or 15 matches? Oh, that's right. He missed 90 days. And
he didn't play Indian Wells. He didn't play Miami. Right. He didn't play Monte Carlo.
Right. So that being said, but they were both very similar in points. It's just one of them played a little longer in the year than the other one did. So to your point, it was a very similar year, and obviously they both ended up in the same situation. So you can't even be mad at the result. And they are the best 2 players in the world. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. It doesn't bother me. It didn't bother me. What was your third point?
My second point.
Sorry.
My second point is that going forward, I would like for this last end of the year tournament to have a little bigger impact on next year. I don't care what it may be. It's hard to say, it's just one tournament, but I feel like it should have in a sense, the 2 things should matter in next year's seeding for any slam. Number 1, this tournament, and number 2, who won this tournament last year, right, should affect seeding / rankings going forward. Not rankings, seeding. Not necessarily ranking. Ranking is points. I get that. That you have to keep constant. But it should affect seeding. And that way a person should be able to, and I'm talking the end of the year situation. That way these 8 guys, who are largely going to be the same 8 guys, get the chance to have the benefit of this tournament's results. I'm talking about the group stages in particular, to factor into next year. And let's just say it was, Felix and who was it? Felix and Ben. And now you get the ability for that Demonor. Sorry, it was Demonor and was it Demonor?
Demonor and Felix. Yeah.
Demonor and Felix.
Yeah.
Demonor and Felix should then get some love or some tiebreaker, if you will, to be 3 and 4, as the case may be. Now, that's this other thing, because now you're putting something on the line, right? If not, then it's just another tournament. This is just another 1,000 that just has a lot of points and a bigger purse.
Well, it's another 1,000, but only 8 people get to play it. Like, so by playing it, you get the opportunity to win more extra points that other players don't have the opportunity to earn.
But if it doesn't help you that much into next year in seeding, for your points and seeding, what does it matter? I would personally like to see this have some level of it should matter enough, especially for the 3 through. And I think the other guys should play it out. That's a side point. the other guy should play it out 4, 5 through 8. You know what I mean? I think now you really get an idea of, okay, hey, buddy, you better finish strong. You know,
Send him to the local university to play the back draw.
Well, do something. I mean, they can play a set for it, whatever the case may be. And again, it's very non-tennis, but it's also non-tennis to a group stage. So if we're going to change this whole format, why not?
I'm gonna come back to that. Give me your third one though,
Please.
before I come back to that.
My third one. Under no circumstances should the results of number 1 be listed before the end match. I'm going to come back to that point, and here's my reason for mentioning it.
What do you mean by listed? What do you mean? Because everyone was aware of the math going in. Like, Carlos needed to do XYZ in this event to secure you're in number 1. Like, that's like, what do you
can't be until this tournament is over. If this tournament is to matter.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. Let it be 5,000 points. I don't care what it is. Whatever. Put 2 slams on top of it, and there it is. Now, should that guy who won it win? Well, then it doesn't matter anyway. He's number 1. But should they? Again, to my point, in simple math, 1,000 points per Grand Slam. I don't know what the points are. Let's say
2,000 for a Grand Slam win.
2,000 for a slam. So this one becomes 3,500. I'm just saying. It should be that much more to matter. Now, here's my, and I know it's dicey, but Alvin, the reason why this tournament has always struggled to matter at the end of the year is the fact that it doesn't matter at the end of the year if the slams hold so much sway and everything else.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm obviously directionally I'm with you. I am Mr. Make Turin matter, right?
Yep.
And it for the year in number 1, it so let's say if Carlos had lost to Musetti, right?
Yep.
And went into the semifinal round 2 and 1, he would have played against Sinner.
Yep.
And they would have literally been playing for year number 1. So we were close. We were close, right? I don't like necessarily having 51 weeks, matter less than 1 week. But directionally I'm with you. I make Turin matter. I'm with you. The execution, it's up for debate. But
it gets dicey and messy. I'm building to my third point.
Okay.
And the winner should have it be in their home turf the following year. Boom.
Okay. I'm gonna not
push back.
address.
I know you want to push back.
I know. I'm not. I hear you. I think what we're talking about is like how we make Davis Cup matter. Like that's really what
Davis
that is.
Cup. Davis Cup is Davis Cup, and they have their own challenges.
Sure.
Davis Cup
to
me,
side.
We'll have to put that off to the side, and I love Davis Cup. I just feel like, and I love the fact that it's there. I'm so happy for Italy to have such a great tennis presence right now. I could not
right
from
back
Jasmine,
at it next week.
And let me kick off. Let me make sure everybody put my shout out to Jasmine Paolini, who has completely helped Italy be on the map. Dare I say, even before Carlos really hit, for Yannick kind of took his ascension to the top. She has done a phenomenal job. My favorite, Lorenzo Musetti, and others have done a phenomenal job of Flavia Panetta. You name it. They've had a lot of top players. Who's my girls? Arani. There have been so many good players from Italy that they deserve this moment. I'm just saying, if there is a way for that tournament to float based off of last year's champ, then that's also just one more thing to put the onus on the champs. This tournament has implications for next year. That's
sure.
my
okay,
and all I'm trying to do is trying to find a way for this to continue to matter. It was my issue, and quite frankly, I mentioned the same thing for the WTA. I love it in Riyadh. It was a great spot. I'm sure it's a nice, as you mentioned before, a neutral setting. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it should be a little more raucous for that person. The person who won it last year should have that, if you will, it should hold sway that direction. There's
okay. Well, let me. I'm going to quickly pivot over to like why I think this tournament might be perfect.
Okay.
Might be perfect. All right. The location was fantastic. Like Italy's kind of the center of the ATP right now, and at Turin, I don't know if you've ever been to Turin. I've been to Turin. I've been to this event. It's It's lovely, and it takes over the city. You see pictures of the players everywhere, especially when you're at the airport. It's like downtown throughout the area, especially closer and closer you get to the arena. It's fantastic. It's great weather there this time of year as well. Okay, so location is great. 1, 2. Do you get to see your favorite players? Yeah, you do, because they're playing a minimum of 3 matches.
Of 3 matches, sure.
It's fantastic. All right, is the
Group
prize
stage.
money?
That's group stage format.
Group stage, yeah. Is the prize money good? It's fantastic. Do they like players are tied in? They get points. They get great prize money. It's played in 1 week, and in your world, it has higher stakes. But there is something. There's a lot of players have a lot of pride in qualifying for the event. Like Lorenzo Massetti put himself through the ringer the last month just to get into this event.
Sure.
And had his
paycheck.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, so when you start looking at all the different people who were involved in tennis, right? Tournament organizers, players, fans, rights holders, everyone kind of wins here. And I feel like more tournaments. That's the worst thing is when you buy tickets to day 3 or 4 of an event hoping to see your favorite player, and then they poop the bed in round 1 for some reason, and they're gone by the time you get there. It's it's the worst. It's the worst, and that sucks for a fan. And I think there can be a way to get it all. The players get to play a few matches. You get to see all the players, and then based on how they do, then they move forward and someone can actually win the tournament, right? And I think you could even take if you did that for the top 8 players, maybe leave open 2 spots, let there be 2 rounds of qualies before that, let those players play, and this is our Grand Prix, right? This is our Super Tour or whatever it is. There's something there because I felt like it was a full experience, both as a spectator at home, as a spectator in person. I love this event. That's just me. I want to talk a little bit about this matchup. There are some things that I saw this week. Actually, let's talk about Yannick Sinner just a little bit. There's one thing that both Anacone and Curry are both called out throughout this match, and Yannick mentioned it as much after the U.S. Open that he needs to get his serve needs to get better, and his first serve particularly. So Anacone was breaking down the idea that Yannick has been trying to get his serve toss back, and when his serve goes off, you can see him chasing tosses out in front. His left foot is landing further and further into the court, and then you start to see the dip in the first serve percentage. What specifically, what is the mechanism we're working with there when we're talking about not depth and shallowness of the serve toss?
Simple geography, Alvin. 90 degrees versus 70 degrees, the sweet spot being 80, right? 90 degrees, the toss is more above me. 70 is too far in front. I'm going to hit more than that. And obviously 80 degrees is my ideal. Kicks need a little bit more on top of the head, as most of us know, and slices and flats typically go off the same serve toss, but obviously a much different action, depending on the external rotation of the hand and the supination of the actual hand itself. External rotation shoulder, supination obviously of the pronation of the wrist itself. One of the things that I find is so key, Yannick is a pretty tall guy. I find that when his toss is out in the court, I find his flat serve is better against everybody else except Carlos Alcaraz. That being said, I find it's difficult because we're comparing one of the best returners in the game in his rival, who just happens to know him well enough to know that his flat and slice are pretty good. His slice doesn't necessarily break the double sideline like it could. And for whatever reason, he has a decent first serve position most of the time. I personally think, while he's dead on, I think it hurts him the most against one player, and that's the guy over my left shoulder right now, and that is Carlos Alcaraz. Alcaraz just has the beat on Yannick's serve. To answer your question fully, I think Anacone's not necessarily taking into consideration that Yannick's 6'3", almost 6'4", and I think he actually does a great job of hitting the serve when his toss is slightly further down the court. I'm going to disagree with Paul Anacone. I think he's one of the best.
Interesting, because Paul's a good server himself. Tall guy.
And a tall guy. And
works with Taylor Fritz.
When he played at University of Tennessee
right?
years ago, went to the match when he played. Here's a shout out. Here's I hope Paul's watching in when he lost to Roberto Saad of Wichita State way back in the early '80s. So I'm gonna kind of date myself, but also help everybody appreciate how long back I go from watching Paul Anacone. Paul is a phenomenal server and has great action on the ball and was one of the best serving ballers to play back. Hence why Roger called up his services and others. Taylor Fritz, you mentioned currently, and others over the years. I personally feel, and Yannick has a little bit of the pinpoint. He's got what I call the hybrid pinpoint, but he has a little more of the pinpoint. And when you bring that foot forward, I think you get a little extra. The problem with Yannick's pinpoint and his serve motion, he doesn't get enough MPH to justify it. So yes, he lands further in the court. That's what the toss will do. But he's not serving 140 plus. And if you're not serving 140 plus, you got to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? And that's where I think Anacone is mentioning he's not necessarily delivering the goods, getting first strikes, getting free service with service winners or aces like he could. Look at his five. I think Carlos is 6'1" at best, but in my opinion, I've seen him around the grounds. They say he's a little taller. I think he's 6 foot, maybe 6'1".
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, that's about right.
He gets more action on that out wide serve, Alvin. He breaks that ball about, the box is 21 feet long. He gets about 15 to 14 feet and breaks that ball into the alley where you have to move over and to respect it. And he's got a very solid, very, very solid down the tee on the deuce. And now you've got a guy who is, for all intents and purposes, he is shorter, similar tall, but now his toss is a little more on the court because he's also shorter, but he can break the angle on the slice and not sacrifice pop down the tee. Now, to me, if I'm those guys, I'm working a little more on wrist snap. I'm working a little more on some strength conditioning. I'm working a little more on targets because there's no reason that Yannick, at his height and his stature, cannot get a little more pop down the tee with that toss being slightly in the court and actually get the freebie that out in the court toss is giving him. Does it give it away a little bit? Sure. It always does when you're leaning a little bit more forward. You're not gonna kick. We know that. But at the same time, you saw how far Carlos was back up on that return on all of Yannick's second serves. Alvin, he moves back 10 feet. He knows what's coming.
I want to break into that a little bit. The return position. So this came up actually on two separate occasions throughout this tournament. One being Taylor Fritz was asked about it in one of his post-match press conferences. I can't remember exactly who he was playing against, which match this was after. It might have been, I think it was when he played Musetti, actually, after his first match against Musetti. And they were asking him, like, yeah, when Musetti backs up, like, why do you go with the slower kick? Why don't you go bigger? He's like, well, he's so far back there. By the time that thing actually comes down, it's right in his wheelhouse, and he's going to be able to take a big. He's backing up to take a big swing at it. So there's not a lot of point in me increasing my risk. Just to it's not going to make much of a difference, anyways. I hit that kicker 20 miles an hour bigger. I'm in a more vulnerable position, and it doesn't really matter. He's still going to hit the same ball anyway. So
law of dimension.
Let's get a start. Yep. So so that's one way to look at it, right? That's the way Taylor was looking at it. I saw today Carlos similar when Yannick would back up. Carlos is often in the same position, right? Okay, he's backed up. I'm hitting a second serve, but he's just like, I'm just going to come in. I'm just going to serve and volley off of it. He did it to Demonor actually 2 days ago. A lot, not Demonor, sorry, against Felix. He did it to Felix, not Demonor. And I was like, there's two different ways to look at what do I do when someone backs up against a return to serve. Now, to the point about how Carlos was handling Yannick's second serve, I thought that backing up, when I was counted, he did it like 5 or 6 times, but he only won one of those points. As opposed to coming up, there were lots of times when Carlos came up on second serves, took the backhand, especially on the deuce side, took the inside and backhand on the rise effectively, punched that some bitch down the line and came in behind it. And he was extremely effective there.
dare I
they're
say,
not.
blew a couple of volleys on that play late in the second that he
Yeah,
would have won the second for him.
right, right. I think that's when we started to get a little bit of like maybe being just a half step slow started to
and being
impact
hampered
him
by
and some
that
of those.
hamstring slash leg, and perhaps he was
Yeah,
forcing shortened points. But keep going.
but to that point though, like they're not robots, right? Like it's
But humans, yeah.
you can have the intent to step up and tag a second serve and come in behind it, but sometimes, especially if you play a 21 ball rally on the point before, you just gotta catch your breath. Like I can't get up there right now. I can't do it. I'm not feeling comfortable. I don't want to take the risk. Like
Yep.
whatever. But as in this cat and mouse game of second server against second serve returner,
Right.
how do you look at this? How do we manage this?
Number one, how often is it happening? Number two, who am I second serve serving against, and how effective is that second serve returner? Number one, how often is it happening? If I did the numbers, Alvin, off the top of my head, I would say that Yannick probably was in the 70% range, is what I'm going to spitball and say. I think that's where he was at. So it's not happening that often. And I don't think Yannick he's not such a big gun off the serve that he's trying. His service hold is not dependent upon service winners and aces. I think we both appreciate that. And he controls the court, he controls the middle court, he controls things on the rise so well that he's okay if you hurt him a little bit. If the ball lands in that back 3 foot of the court, anybody's vulnerable, but who can
Sure.
return that well? It just so happens that this opponent can hit the balls in the last 3 feet of the court and make that happen. I want to go. That's number one. There's the first answer to your question is how often? How often is 7%, 30%? So it means 30% of the time you're vulnerable. And in most cases, that's good enough for everybody else. Against Carlos, not as much, but today it was enough. The second one was who is the second serve returner? In this case, I'll talk more to Carlos. Carlos showed us something in the U.S. Open, Alvin, that I think that every junior pro, I mentioned it in the podcast actually, after that match, he has brought back what I call the high heavy. I'm not talking about the looper. I'm talking about that roller with not much pace that puts every on the rise player, and Yannick is probably the best definition of one, because as an on the rise player, because you're taking the ball early, by definition, you're probably going to go more cross court, right? And when you roll that ball, you take away the pace that the on the rise hitter wants to gain and add to. And you're almost always going to go cross court. You can't take it on the rise and change direction. And the slower the ball is, the more unlikely it is to do so.
Right,
so
right.
He's rolling this ball. And I think that's actually the genius of what the Alcaraz camp, obviously led by Juan Carlos, has figured out. Don't give him pace to hurt you with, which is why I think it's such a riskier proposition to take the inside in, your favorite term, the skinny cross, backhand inside in. Great play to do from time to time because you keep him honest. But the more you back up, you almost know the ball's coming there. You know what you have to do. I would like to see both players improve upon the inside out backhand return, really stretch the court wide. I think Yannick, ironically, is very good at covering his backhand side to the running forehand. I'm not so sure he's as good covering the out wide backhand with the running on the run forehand.
On the run forehand
backhand.
into the run the backhand.
Right.
Yep.
The right to left, I think, is much more vulnerable than the left to right. Is what I'm getting at. Now, Andy Murray was phenomenal at this return ball. We had both of them, but he was so good at the inside out that he could take you that corner, which is one of the reasons why he's Andy Murray. That backhand was all day. He was world class, one of the few players that was truly world class. I would even give him the nod, just barely, over Novak over the best backhand return. And we know how solid Novak's returns are. I said because of his ability to move the ball around. And here's why I'm saying it, Alvin. Because no one knows what you're going to do with that ball. The one thing these two guys have going for them, and unfortunately going against them, is you kind of know they each kind of know what they're each going to do. So at some points, the known is what you're fighting. And so there, again, it's not what's possible, it's what's likely. They're going to hit what's likely. And when he's down, Carl's going to back up and roll that ball. And he knows Yannick ain't going to crush him. He knows Yannick won't serve volley against him because he respects Carlos's pass. And of course, he's not that's a huge risk for him. in the iterations going forward, I think that'll change. But as of right now, I think that we're taking the return, it's Carlos. It's a Carlos Alcaraz. Oh, okay. Well, then let me just get the return in and survive, and then hope that he makes an uncharacteristic mistake, and I'll get back to my 70+% first serve to not give him that chance at the next point. That's how I
Okay.
think Carlos. That's how I think Yannick's thinking.
That's fair. There are I don't specifically on the deuce side, I don't love the idea of taking that backhand inside out just because of the way the ball's coming in, like righty, it's coming into the body,
Yep.
into Carlos's backhand. It's almost more natural to take it line.
Sure.
If you try to fight it off and take it inside out, now Carlos is like almost right foot landing a little bit like even on the sideline. And now you've
Yeah.
got Yannick finished forehand to an open court. I don't love it. Maybe I like it more than backing up. I just don't feel like backing up is actually like it seems that Carlos is best when he's able to put pressure on Yannick as soon as possible, and off the second serve is a really, really good opportunity. When he took it, he
Yep.
capitalized on it. But backing up and letting him reset is almost like giving away your advantage on that second serve return. But we're splitting hairs to a certain
we
extent.
are splitting hairs, but with these two, you have to split hairs because that's
You have to split hairs. That's where we are with these two.
So Alvin, let me say this: how good are Yannick's passing shots?
Okay, I don't know if you stole this from my notes, but I feel early in this match, and almost as an extension of the U.S. Open, I had this feeling that Carlos doesn't really rate Yannick's passing shots all that high because he does this. Like I'm coming in like it's approach shot pass, like self-fed approach shot pass. Like I'm coming in and I'm pretty sure I can handle my hands are better than your first pass. I'll be able to take whatever you throw at me. So long-winded answer of saying I started off this match feeling that Carlos didn't think Yannick's passing shots were that good. But then Yannick got pretty dialed in and his passing shots looked amazing.
I was taking that route. I think Yannick's passes are actually pretty good, especially after he makes a couple. He finds he can pass line, he can pass cross, and he doesn't dip and pass. He doesn't do the old school Jerry Baskin, two-ball pass pattern.
Love a two. Shouts to Jerry. I love a two-shot pass.
100%. But he is ripping it cross or ripping it line. It just so his height over the net is not very high, so it already is dipping anyway. It's like Jonas Bjorkman's backhand return and doubles. It's hitting the service box corner, whether you like it or not. Deal with it. Here's the problem. If I take the backhand return deuce side inside in, I've got two options: stay, look for a forehand, or come in and take a volley. Let's take option one. I stay. He hits an on the rise backhand back cross court. I'm going backhand to backhand. I gain nothing.
Right.
Okay. I can go for bigger and miss. I can go for bigger and just right and nail it. Or I can run him again with my backhand line, and he actually hurts me more on the forehand side, which he does constantly. So that's almost an antagonist against me taking the ball early and staying back. I can take the ball inside in and come in. Trust that my backhand volley is going to nail it just enough. By the way, he missed that volley, which cost him a set. He missed that same volley. I can get creative at my out wide shave, my fan angle, volley
dropper
on
situation,
the backhand drop angle, whatever the heck he was trying to do on that one ball. But I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, and the whole goal of approaching that is to put pressure on the opponent. So
but what is he also? You missed one though. What does he leave open though? When he comes in, what does he leave open? What Yannick found at some point in this match was the reading rainbow. Shouts to Sawyer Duncan. The reading rainbow right over your head.
The teardropper, the eyedropper as he called it, and that is the problem. So at some point, I just don't think that the juice was worth the squeeze enough on that backhand inside in over time. Now, which is again why it comes back to who's the return of server here, because you only have so many options. He's not going to pull a Bublik and try to hit a backhand drop shot. You know what I mean on that return. Right. Yannick is fast, so at some point, what I'm getting to you is it isn't so much, hey, try the inside out one. That's the one play that will actually hurt Yannick's court position to allow you to then open up and run the backhand and then come in and dictate play. I'm not saying that it's an easy ball. arguably it's the hardest shot, which is why it didn't happen. I watched a match, it had been Paris. I watched, and I went back and watched some highlights, try to get some notes for this podcast. And I watched the Felix match against Bublik. Every single backhand serve was a on-the-rise backhand that landed at or near the service line. In which case, and this is the difference of the match, Bublik took it backhand back cross, Felix took an inside-out cross. It was the difference in the match. Where did they both go every single time? They attempted to go inside in. The ball didn't get much past the service line. It might have gotten 3, 4, maybe 5 feet past service line. Alvin, the ball sat up like a piñata. And it justifies the means for a good kick serve to the tee. How often does that happen on tour? The more I watched it, I'm like, this happens all the time. Which is why I thought it was so genius for Carlos to back up and roll that ball heavy, because what's Yannick going to do? Move up and hit on the rise? Go ahead. I got you. And that's why it's a little bit weird to think. In other words, you can't hurt me on this, and I kind of hurt you, but it's a 30% situation if I don't, which is why I don't do it as often. And that's all I'm
right.
and that's all I'm making.
So you bring up Felix, and I think this is a really opportune time to there's kind of one last point I wanted to hit before we kind of fan out over the tournament a little bit. The announcer during this match had the female announcer early on, and I don't know who it was. I didn't catch the intro. Said Carlos Alcaraz, he's like the Sistine Chapel. It's all about sealing. And I was like, damn, that's good. Because it kind of it gave me a visual for something that I'd been thinking about when we talk about Felix and we talk about Carlos. There's something that Felix has that often gets these two things get kind of convoluted together. Feel and touch. Feel and touch.
Sure.
Felix has touch. When you see him come to the net and he's got good hands, he can do some creative things with his hands. That is what I consider to be touch.
Okay.
Carlos has feel when we're talking about taking it inside and backhand and coming in behind it to then finish off. He's thinking 2-3 shots ahead. He's thinking about shapes. He's thinking about a lot of different things. Like working his way around a tennis court to make things happen, create things, open things, give himself opportunities. That is feel.
I agree with that.
And I think that is like that alongside of his unworldly foot speed are the two things that really get a little overlooked, but are actually part of his superhuman package. Like,
I agree with that.
Yeah, he hits the crap out of him beforehand.
I would go further. When I'm talking about this, and I do this with a few other things besides these two terms that, as you say, can often be interchanged. Touch almost always connotes some level of underspin or continental skill. You're talking about a volley, you're talking about a volley, you're talking about a low volley, you're talking about a slice, you're talking about some level of taking pace off, and how close and how deft can that hands take away pace and drop a ball into a certain spot. Feel isn't limited to slice. Feel, while it includes, feel could also be your ability to have a high ball, the ability to handle a weird, odd volley, how to handle an on the rise ball, how to hit a ball a little bit out of your strike zone with a buggy whip, and so on. I feel, and this is, and this another one that gets, I feel, speed and quick, right? There's the other one. Right? Speed is how fast you are in every direction. Quick to me is almost always first step,
First step.
And your ability to get from here to there in a certain amount of time. There's a lot of guys that can be quick that aren't fast, but they're quick. And there's a lot of guys that are quick and fast. And it's just Usain Bolt is both, right? So I say it to say that I agree with you 100% on that feel versus touch thing. I don't think there's many players in the world that have the feel of Carlos Alcaraz. And I feel like, to your point, to the commentator's point about the Sistine Chapel, I think that was a good analogy, because there is not much of a ceiling, and the ceiling is very, very not only high. It's pretty darn nice to look at what he can do when he's playing at his highest level. I find that Carlos, in a sense, and this is back to my point earlier, he is so creative that's almost his undoing it from time to time, because he does see the Rubik's Cube and the ways to solve it in nanoseconds is almost as because there's not much he can't do, right? And that is the concurrent fight within him to be solid or to be creative. And I think that's what makes this matchup so good, is you have the consummate statistician, risk management, and
he is Mr. Risk Management.
and you have the consummate, what if we did it this way? You know what I mean? Kind of outside the box. There's no box for Carlos sometimes. So I think that's what makes this matchup so fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's very interesting how these players do certain things to each other, right?
Yeah.
Like Yannick didn't wake up this morning and like feel groggy, and that was the reason why his first serve percentage dropped, right? Like there was a reason why his first serve percentage dropped.
He's
right?
trying for more. He knows he has.
He's got to go for a little more, right? And
Watson in his brain is saying you need to serve 78% to these spots to be successful today, 100%.
Right, and during that first set tiebreaker, there was a couple of balls that Carlos missed that I'm like, he's not going to miss that against anyone else. It's probably not going to hurt him in this position. So like the amount of pressure that these two put on each other, not only each other, but on the rest of the players in the tour, like there's these little moments within each match where you can see a player kind of blink a little bit. Yep. Right, like when Ben Shelton played against Felix, like there was a point in that second set where Ben just kind of got a little unsure of himself, and that was just enough for Felix to take control of the match. Yep. And I think the same thing, like Carlos is not above it, right? It just takes Yannick Sinner to put him in that position,
right? And it was only Yannick.
Right, and I think it was right around 3-1, maybe in the 3-1 or 3-2 in the second in the tiebreaker where he missed that backhand wide, and I was like, yeah, he hadn't missed the backhand in a while. Yep. Now he misses the backhand.
Yep.
And
whether he's going for it or he realizes that Yannick has caught it up, you know what I mean? Again, to your point, they do a great job of countering each other, and they respect each other a great deal. They both have a kind of an odd understanding, you know. Kylo Ren and what's my girl, Ray, understanding of each other, you know what I mean?
Right.
And for Star Wars, for the Star Wars lore of us. Bottom line, great, another good match. Again, only reason it wasn't great is because we've seen better, but it's still, to me, you know, rounds out the top 5 of them of all time to date. And if this was what was good, I'm really looking forward to next year as far as their next iterations going forward. But to your point, I like to talk maybe a little bit about Felix. I like to talk a little bit about Demonor. I like to talk about the rest of the what's the term, the best of the rest. I'd love to
the best of the rest. Yeah, Felix. Let's start with Felix.
Okay.
And we'll hit. Actually, I'm sure we'll hit most of these guys in the year-end ATP wrap-up pod that we'll do in a couple weeks. But Felix, he said after this tournament, he feels like he's back where he belongs. Like he's in the upper echelon of the game, and it's kind of built off of basically this part of the year, like from U.S. Open to now. He's banked the majority of his points from the season. But Felix has also been one of the best indoor players in the world over the last 5 years or so. Do you feel like you've seen something that is a marketable change that makes you feel like Felix is in position to have a great 2026? Or do you feel like the difference between good Felix and like decent Felix and good Felix is actually not that big of a difference?
It's a great question. Had I not seen the semi to the U.S. Open, I would have said this is typical Felix. He plays great indoors. He happened to play that good prior to the indoor season in the U.S. Open. I think Felix has caught a groove. This is the old when Stella got a groove back kind of a thing. Ironically, he made the comment because I know he's been ranked there before, but I didn't really feel like he was that good then. I thought he was kind of overachieving. I feel like he's there now in essence. Dare I say in earnest. He's playing that good right now. Yours are my 5 words, Alvin. He's playing good right now. You've got to appreciate that the other players know that, and the fact that he knows that, and there's absolutely no replacement for confidence in a player who's playing well. Do I think he can take it in 2026? 1,000%. Do I think he's playing good ball? 1,000%. Do I think he's playing committed, playing clear, hitting his forehand, not waffling on what to do and what not to do? 1,000%. And so I think that will bode him well going forward. Do I think that he's got a very short window to try to strike and to maintain his dominance and try to maybe take a set or two off these guys in some of the majors to really keep pushing? Because you can't just stay in third place, Alvin. You have to continue to get closer to first and second and beat the also-rans down. And that's going to be Felix's big test to me, is can he now take on can he take on all comers? And that's going to be tough for him. That's something that I don't want to get ahead of myself and get ahead of your list. That's something that I feel like Zverev has kind of failed to do as the number 3 person in the world. Take Novak out of it for all ranks and purposes.
Sure.
Zverev has been that number 3. I am beating everybody else but those 2. And unfortunately, Zverev has not been able of late to keep clawing and taking stabs, taking strides to catch up to the 1 and 2. And therefore, it's the death of 1,000 cups with everybody else.
What's happened on the other side for Zverev as well? Like, he's also now losing to other people. I think he's lost to 16 or 17 different players this year. So, like, it's happening. He's not only is he not getting closer to those two, he's getting further away, and everyone else is just pulling him back.
Death of 1,000 cuts. We'll cover this more in your end of the year thing you talked about. I've got this player not necessarily doing some things going forward, but I say it also to you to say that's one of the problems. Felix will succumb to the same thing if he doesn't. And his ability to keep that, in a sense, that third and chasing versus third and being a target that difference is very, very slight. And many a third, fourth player in the world has succumbed to that for all the same reasons.
Yeah. Okay. So next up, Ben Shelton. So Ben had a pretty decent year. I think followed up his he's semifinal 2-1-2 semifinal Australian. I don't have it in front of me. Let's not get into it. But he definitely semifinal Australian. Quarterfinal Wimbledon. He had a pretty good year, but he does have a bit of a Yannick Sinner problem. He's lost 8 of their last matches in a row. And so not much better against Carlos either. I don't think he's taken a set from Yannick in their last 8 matches. So it's
took a set off Carlos, I think, and was it Rome maybe?
Carlos, yes, at French Open.
French Open, and there was
set off in the French Open.
I thought maybe one was it Rome? I thought it was Rome also. He took a set off of him, and it was one of those kind of 7-5 or 7-6 sets, but all the same, still took a set. That to me is the momentum that Ben Shelton needs to know he's getting closer. Ben is not like most players. He's not the best tactical guru out there. He is playing off emotion, belief, and absolute ball striking. And I feel like for him to know that he's getting close, and if he believes he's getting closer, that's all he needs to know. And if Ben feels it,
but that's the thing. I don't think he is getting closer. I don't think he is getting closer.
Not closer to those two, but I think he feels he's getting closer in general. He's certainly not losing ground. I feel those players are just tactically a little sharper. And I say that to say, Alvin, you can get closer and be, and be 6-2, 6-1 going away, and you can lose 3 and 4. That's getting closer. You haven't won a set yet, but you are
ask Alex Demonor. That is getting closer.
Right. You are closing the gap, and I do feel 1,000% that Ben Shelton is closing the gap.
Interesting. I'm not going to say that
will he be a threat to beat them next year?
Ceiling.
I'm not so sure, but because those guys haven't dropped a beat. But I do want to mention, I think
they're also still getting better.
That's what I'm saying.
They're also still getting better. That's the thing. Like as bit.
Right.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Taylor Fritz. We're gonna talk a lot about Taylor over the next few weeks, but coming in out of this event, I feel like Taylor just got the misfortune of almost his order of matches. Like he played Musetti first, beat Musetti like a drum, fine. Played Carlos next, played really well against Carlos, lost that match, and then he plays Demonor third. I feel like if he had played and
Irreversible.
played a great first set against Demonor,
Right.
if he had played Demonor after playing Musetti and then played Carlos last, I feel like he goes 2-1 and he's in this thing. But I saw him lose that first set to Demonor in a tiebreaker, I think it was, and then just had a bit of a hiccup in his first service game, might have felt a little dejected, and then that was enough for Demonor to take that second set in the match. So it's like, but they all finished, 1 and 2, but Musetti gets in and Taylor does not. But I feel like, Demonor gets in and Taylor does not. When I feel like Taylor was the second best player in that group.
I agree.
And he's been consistently performing at that level pretty much all year.
And
like
took a set off Carlos in round.
Took a set off Carlos, yeah. So like that's I don't Taylor. I think Taylor's it kind of is what it is with him right now. He's going to. I see it every single time he plays against Carlos. Like that lateral foot speed, just like it's not. It's just he can't. The rally gets a little too hot, and he gets behind. And once he gets behind, like he's off kilter, and that's kind of what happens with Sinner and Carlos. They make it so damn hard.
Yep,
they just make it so hard.
But he is the litmus test of number 4 in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Alvin, we've made this comment about Jessica Pegula and others who are very, very good. You cannot dismiss that. You cannot. Nope. You can't speak enough to it. The problem is you're dealing with a couple of potential greatest of all times that are playing right now. And had that not been the case, there's a case for Taylor winning one of these bigger events. Had those two not, were those two not part of the conversation? Unfortunately, as my father always mentions to me, if a snake had hips, right? And then so the if is always out there. So, but I think Taylor is doing a great job. He's continuing to close the gap as well. He's certainly no walkover by any means, by any stretch. But I do feel like he is making a great case for himself to be relevant in 2026. I think Demonor, switching gears a bit to him, this is the best I've seen Alex play against the top in dare I say ever. I think he was one of those 5-8 players that had a chance to maybe beat these guys on a bad day, but it would take a lot of help. And he's actually improved his chances. That first round match in the group stage against him and Carlos, Alvin, Demonor was playing solid. I mean, Demonor had a very solid group stage to put himself very solid in that top 5 grouping, which was he in particular, Taylor as well, were part of my whole comments was what I feel this tournament should do for next year. Because those guys' performance to me showed me that if this tournament were to take the results of this thing, let's say they played out 5-8, or they had one more match to just whatever to consummate the rest of the match, so you had an actual ending. So this guy actually finished 8th, 7th, a playoff, if you will. Now, if that were to take you into the actual seeding for next year, all things being equal, Alan, that would be something to see. And now you could upset or change your whole future based off this tournament. And I think, I won't rehash it, but that would actually help some of the younger guys, some of these guys to make a move next year. And I hate to say it, kind of disrupt the whole cherry picking of Novak Djokovic, because now he would face one of those guys sooner. It's not their fault that he's not playing. It's not their fault that they chose to pull out. And it's not their fault that he did not finish top 8 and play the end of year championships. All the more reason to put something more on this tournament to make it have next year implications.
That's the snake with the hips again. That's the snake with the hips.
100%. 100%.
About Demonor,
but you can't deny my point about Demonor not playing well.
I have gained so much respect for Alex de Minaur over the last 15 months or so. Let's call it from U.S. Open 2024 all the way up through now. And I saw him play in person at DC at the DC 500 this year.
Yep.
I really, you take the top two guys out of it, between Alex de Minaur and like Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, like those, it's kind of a toss up between who I like most enjoy watching play tennis. I just like the way that Alex maximizes. He maximizes everything he has. Like not a huge guy, but has gotten the most out of his serve as possible. Like again, not a huge guy, hits a pretty flat ball. But hits it as about as big as the rest of them. You can't. Very few players can out hit him, right?
Correct.
And he moves laterally so well that he's able to do things with speed that other players try to do with strokes. Like I've talked about this before. Like once he goes, if you're in a cross court rally with Alex and then he goes line, and you start moving, he's coming in. Like he's coming in. He's coming in. He's got good volleys. He's got great presence. Like he's one of those players. I put him in the Carlos camp. He has feel. He knows what he's doing on a tennis court. He knows how to manipulate a tennis court to his advantage. But one of the things that I think really hinders him and why he struggles with the Sinners and the Alcarazes is very similar to what we talked about with Felix. Guys who stand that close to the baseline and take balls on the rise, you're gonna be able to put them in a tough spot when you're bringing anything heavy. That if they won't back up, right? You never see Alex back up and take a full swing, right? He's gonna stay on that baseline. You can't square that ball up, like even more so on clay. You have nothing to work with either.
Back behind him, or if they go back behind him, and I think that's what hurts both center in order, Demonor, and obviously all the rest of the guys that are that fast and that quick. They just have their disposition. What makes them great is the weakness, right? That is what hurts them in that kind of a rally. So if you have the goods to go big enough back behind them, it would. That's how you get them a little bit out of position. But you gotta do a darn good job about it to make that happen.
That's why he's top 10 in the world,
good. Right. The Demon looks so good. I felt like Carlos played his angles and his out wide ball so well against him that was the difference in that match. But he knew if I stroke with Alex, he'll beat me. If I just go toe to toe and go cross court to cross court, I have to go into Alcaraz mode, you know what I mean? Avatar mode, so to speak, and get this ball wider, serve wider, go back behind him, go in front of him, and make sure I got to make the court go 120 degrees, because if I leave it at 90 degrees, this guy is as good as anybody in the world. Dare I say number one in the world, 9 degrees, because he just does so many good things. It's the 90 to 120 that matters, and that's what separates him from an on-the-rise like a Yannick Sinner.
Yeah. And then lastly, your favorite player and mine, Lorenzo Musetti.
I knew you were going to bring...
Hey, he was in the tournament. Lorenzo did everything humanly that a human could do to get himself into this tournament, and somehow pulls a rabbit out of the hat against Demonor and gets that one victory, kisses his girlfriend after the match, who's full on pregnant, like their second child, and the home fans are giving it to him. He had his moment. Like the juice was worth the squeeze at that moment. I wish him a restful off season. Well, I think he pulled out of Davis Cup next week, so he's done for the year.
Got a little on the way. I mean, absolutely. And
it takes time.
And played a phenomenal match against Novak in the end of that tournament, which is to me one of the best matches I've seen either of them play in the last so many weeks. So that was and hey, probably each of the other, how many guys left? 5 guys should each write him a little check for getting Novak to pull out. So that they can
this tournament doesn't need Novak. Like this tournament doesn't need Novak. It was a great event. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Short of the two top players actually playing for the number one spot. It can't be perfect. We had a fantastic year. I'm very much so looking forward to our year-end breakdowns of both the ATP and WTA Tour, as well as American tennis. We'll probably do that one by itself as well. But I realized last episode was our 75th episode, TH. 75th.
How about that?
And
Who knew we
exactly
had
1 year.
75 episodes to talk about stuff, Alvin.
75 episodes, 1 year. Monday was our 1 year as well. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
Shouts to everyone who has been on the bus with us, jumping on the bus. I see you all in the comment section. It's I was telling my wife about it today. Like it's a true community that we have built here.
Yeah. I will start meeting you all in the comments. By the way, Alvin has shown me.
Come to the comments.
I'm
the water's
coming to the
warm.
Comments. Yep.
Come to the comments. Speaking of where else we're going down to IMG Academy in a couple weeks.
Yep.
Eddie Herr. I guess it's officially called the IMG International Championships now. They whatever. Nick Voluntary, rest in peace.
Eddie Herr, rest in peace. Ain't paying any sponsorship money. You know what I'm saying? So
right, Eddie, Nick, Tito. I don't care.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, if any of you best of three listeners find yourself down in Bradenton in a couple weeks, come say what's up. But we'll also be popping up at a couple of ATP WTA events next year as well. So we'll get you more information on that. But just wanted to say that. Thank you all for listening, subscribing, all that stuff. TH, got any last words for the people?
Just thank you. It's been a great year. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, Alvin. I thoroughly enjoyed your production of this thing. Who knew that we were, when you first asked me to join you on this thing, about a year ago, I have learned so much about this whole venue and this whole medium, but I have also thoroughly enjoyed speaking about the game that I love. And for you, a big thank you to you, and a big thank you to the fans, the listeners out there that have made this possible for us to continue going. I would love to see us continue to take this to the people more in some of these events around the world. I'd love to see more of our fans / listeners and subscribers to interact more with us, to give us some of their things that they want to hear more about and like to see. I love nothing more than a good discussion. As much as I think I know what I'm talking about, I'm always love to hear a dissenting opinion, and as to why or why not, and whether I change my mind because of a great point, or I double down because I'm like, see, here's why I got you on that one. I love to hear it. I think at the end of the day, we're all big tennis fans on this
Absolutely.
on this podcast, and so I would love to. That's why I'm jumping to the comments, Alvin. I want to hear what the people are saying, and I feel, Alvin, and you mentioned this before once. We've got a really educated group of tennis listeners that are chiming in. You know what I mean? This is not your regular, run of the mill, tennis fan. And so for that, I like it.
It is niche of niche.
Oh, for sure. But it also makes you appreciate they know what they're talking about. So they are not only appreciative of the content, but they're also appreciative of the perspective that we're bringing. And to that, I say, we'd like to hear more from them. We'd like to see more of them on the followers and subscribers. So as they continue to talk to their friends over the holidays and such, hey, give us a shout. Give us a like. Tell your friends and buddies and workmates and fellow tennis fans to like, subscribe, and follow, because that's how this thing continues to go. And, I would love nothing more than to post up at the U.S. Open, next year, and we'd be at one of the watering holes and be holding court with several of our fellow tennis fans. You know what I mean? Take a big group pic, with the whole best of three, because that to me is really where this, we're all watching and appreciating the tennis. That to me, that'll be one of my goals for next year, is to see some of the followers, subscribers, and whatnot to be there with us, watching it there firsthand.
There you go. No notes. I'll end it right there. We'll put a pin in it. Best of three. We are out.
Peace.